Senate Republicans responded to today's decision by the BEP to move forward with the CART proposal by saying 150 people signing a petition and an unelected board is hijacking the entire legislative process. They say the rule, if adopted, will be challenged in the legislature.
The board also decided today not to move forward with a similar proposal for trucks.
Bangor City Council has passed an ordinance that regulates short-term rentals.
This includes Airbnbs, Verbos, and any other short-term rentals. The city recognizes the need for short-term rentals, whether for use by tourists or those who travel for work. The council wants to allow some growth in the sector. The regulations would mandate inspections to ensure the properties meet basic standards put forward by the council. There will also be a cap on people from outside Bangor renting homes in the city, set at 1% of overall housing units. There is no cap for in-city hosts and partial rentals.
You know, we really saw Bangor as a good opportunity to regulate a use before it becomes a problem, because what we find, like on the coastal communities, they regulated it after, everybody been doing it for years and years, and it's really a lot more difficult. So Bangor is in a really good position to be able to look at a use to say, how is this affecting us, and to be able to regulate it appropriately.
Today marks the start of a 6-month grace period for those who have short-term rental properties to get licensed with the city. The council hopes this will strike a balance with residents who want to keep the integrity of their neighborhoods and property owners who depend on short-term rentals as a source of